We're looking today at the difference between heart leadership and head leadership. And why is that so important? Well, for so many years, a lot of us have been told that we need to be objective in the way that we think. We may have run business objectively. We may have been told, particularly as women, that we should stop being so subjective. We should start being objective and look at the problems rather than the emotions. But the truth is, in my book anyway, if you let go of your emotions, if you disengage your head from your heart, then often the decisions you make won't be based on what's truly aligned with who you are and nor with who your clients are. So we're looking now at exploring how can you lead from the heart? How can you lead successfully from the heart? And I've got the lovely Lisa McGrath with me today. So welcome, Lisa, for coming and joining me on this conversation.
It's always a thrill. This is our second time talking, and I just get so excited to speak with you.
Brilliant. Well, just from your experience and working with your own clients, what difference does it make to you when you allow your emotions? And it's not, and I'm not talking about crying with everybody, that kind of emotion, but how does it feel to you when you allow your intuition and that inner part of you to guide what you do?
Yeah, I think I've always allowed my intuition to guide what I'm about to do because ignoring it is to ignore something that's actually real for me. In other words, if I sense that someone is upset in whatever manner, whether it's sadness or anger or frustration, they haven't said it necessarily, but you can feel it. That's real. That's real for me. That probably means there's something real happening within them. And so if I ignore it, then I miss an opportunity to connect with that person on something that they're going through and to address it perhaps, or support them perhaps, or come back to it and not allow it to infect what's going on, what we're trying to do together while they're trying to work around this because I haven't addressed it. And so I think leading with that intuition is really important because if you sense something that's going on, then bring it out into the light and see what's going on there and support it or put it to the side. And then you can move on with the important bits of whatever the engagement was meant to be.
So you're really building a deeper relationship from the start, aren't you, when you start allowing that part into it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're talking about work, if we're talking about teams, and you're leading a team, you're working even with coworkers, we're all people. We're all humans. We all have emotions, and we bring to work whatever is going on in our lives. We try to park it at the door. We try to leave it in the car or leave it on the subway ride in, but the truth is it's there with us. And so if you know that someone looks like they're struggling that day, you may change the tone in your voice. You may change the way you approach them. You may not always feel comfortable entering their private, parts of themselves to ask about it, but you could be a little more compassionate, a little more aware, a little more gentle that day with this person because you see that they're off maybe from where they usually are. And so treating people as humans only has one thing that can come from it, and that's a benefit to you and to them to build trust, to build empathy, to build compassion, because there are definitely going to be days when you show up for work and you are not at your top best. And wouldn't it be nice if people saw you as a human and gave you a bit of grace in that day when you need it the most?
Absolutely. And of course, if you're going to do that for other people and you're modeling it, then you're more likely, aren't you, to receive it back again. Do you think it does make a difference? Do you think the genders do make a difference? Or do you think that we can work in a workplace where we've got all sorts of people and male and female working together and still allow that kind of attitude to be part of us?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my career before going out on my own was in sales, which is very male dominated, especially here in North America. And so I've had to always manage my emotions, but I've also been able to use them. So when I know that someone's having a hard time, even if it's a male, you find ways around whatever's going on. Again, you're using what you're feeling to guide you in how you're going to get on with this person today. And so you may give them a little more space. Men may not want to be opening up to another man or another woman. They may be more closed off, and I don't think that has to do with them being male. I think it has to do with their personality and their sense of how comfortable they are sharing about something like that. So, you need to know the culture, the environment of the workspace, you need to know the person. But it does give you an insight into, you don't know what's going on, but something's going on. And therefore, maybe you can still extend grace to that person without necessarily saying, hey, what's going on with you? Do you want to talk about it? That might be a little too much, but it's about how you choose to interact when you realize that something's going on versus simply ignoring it and plowing through without any realization, what could this cause an effect within them that then becomes something more or something else that I don't actually want to deal with down the road. So again, just being truthful and forthcoming with yourself and say, you know what, I feel like this person needs a little space today, and maybe take that step back and allow them some grace.
I think when you do that, you're sort of stepping away from anything personal, aren't you? Because uh, rather than allowing somebody to upset you and offend you because you have taken it personally, by asking yourself that question, well, they wouldn't normally treat me like that. They wouldn't normally speak to me like that or ignore me in the corridor or not ask me if I wanted a cup of coffee as well as that person over there. Maybe they're just not coping today. Having that feeling of allowing people to have those kind of days, it's going to make for a much longer term positive relationship in the workplace, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not to say that we are expecting anyone to be, a doormat for someone's bad behavior. I'm not asking anyone to allow themselves to be stepped on. When you give space to somebody who's having a bad time, you're actually taking yourself away from their foot coming down on you. Now, if this seems to be something that's going on all day long or day after day, and it's really interrupting the manner of business that needs to happen, well, now you have to step in and you have to say something. If you are the leader, then you need to call them into privately, into a conversation to say, hey, I've noticed this, that, and the other in a very calm, non-judgmental voice. Is there something going on that we need to talk about? And then at that point, they can, whatever they say, you'll know what to say next if you are truly being compassionate to their needs, as well as being compassionate to the rest of the staff, being compassionate to what has to happen in business that day, and so forth. So there is a time to call it in. We don't need to be doormats, but we can sometimes start with giving some space and grace.
Yeah, so what about that sort of when we're in the workplace and we've got people around us? What about those people who work for themselves? How does it reflect maybe they're not feeling so good that day, but they know all the pile of work they've got to do. How can they care for themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of entrepreneurs get caught in that because we get overwhelmed. We look at the pile of work, we look at all of the to-do things on our list. Running a business isn't just being the talent in the business. It's wearing several different hats. And depending on where you are, if you're a solo entrepreneur, meaning you're the only person doing everything, that could be 21 different hats. Even if you have a small team, you're still wearing more than one hat. You're still the business owner on top of being the talent, the main decision maker, responsible for paying all the bills and so forth. So there are quite a few hats to wear there. And if you are feeling overwhelmed by it all, I would lean into that overwhelm and ask, well, what is triggering me to feel overwhelmed? Right? So now you feel what's going on in your body. Your heart may be telling you something's off, and it's probably right. So now the logic can step in to say, well, what's really going on here? How much do I have on my plate? What doesn't need to be on my plate? What can I put on someone else's plate to handle? Where can I ask for help? Is it time to hire more people on my team? Maybe I have to start a team. Maybe it doesn't have to be a full-time staff. Like, just inch your way from the feeling, using the feeling as the trigger to investigate what needs to happen logically within your business for you to feel the abundance that is there, but you can't reach it because you're already overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of solopreneurs face. And I think I know for myself, I've got to a point where I did feel like I was kind of chasing those jobs and you'd got those plates spinning. Actually, you got to a point where you loved your business, but it couldn't grow anymore at that stage because actually you were doing it all. So there's a point where you have to say, well, okay, I might need to take a drop in what I'm earning just to bring in and broaden the base so that we can become stronger and grow further. So one of the things that's, really important to me in the business I run is it's very much a collaborative space or cooperative space where people support each other, believe in each other, and are willing to help each other grow. And I think that's probably why the heart leadership side becomes so important to me. And whether they're men or women, we have both in our community. A lot of people think we're just going to be with women. And I don't know why they think that. And I'd love to know your thoughts on that because I've met so many men over recent years who are compassionate and they might not know it or recognize it, but actually they are heart led. There's something inside of them that it drives them forward that is, whether it's their more feminine side, I don't know, but there's a heart led side to them. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that about the men that you know in business or that you perhaps worked with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, men are definitely heart-led as well. There is a stigma, I think, that we've all been operating under that says that men have to be tough and they don't cry and they don't show emotions. That's something that we put on women. And then there's that stigma as well with women where they're very emotional and therefore they can't be logical. But we're dismantling all that as you and I talk right now, we're dismantling a lot of that. And many of the business leaders who I follow are men, and they have a good handle on the balance between heart and head. They understand that the reason they're so successful in business, their businesses run through the energy of humans, people that they employ. And if they don't take care of their people, they no longer have the business that they have worked so hard to make a success today. And so they realize that you have to start treating people like humans, like you have to be invested in them. You need to supply them with time, a good environment, some respect. You have to cultivate a culture where people feel like they belong there, not just trying to awkwardly fit in. They need a culture where they can speak up and put their hand up when they are struggling and maybe need to talk to someone or need some time. And so I'm seeing for myself a lot more men leaders, male leaders who are very much aligned in both camps of head and heart. Because the truth is, in business, it can't all be heart. You need to have some head. You have to have the head in the game for it, but you can't ignore the emotions of people. And we are all emotional creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think sometimes people have learned to hide emotions, not helpfully, maybe, I don't know, through their childhood growing up or school or whatever it was, and they sort of maybe pressed things down and they need to have that space, don't they, to be able to come forward and feel valued for that. I think one of the distinctions that I tend to notice in those people I've met who are very much head driven, they can be successful entrepreneurs, there's no doubt about it, but they tend to see the gap in the market and they go out there and they look for something that's going to fill that gap. And it's a kind of a head business decision. Whereas those who are more heart led, heart driven, tend to see the gap in someone's life and they will go out there and look to heal that gap or to bring support for that gap. And it tends to be on a more human situation. So in our own business, we deal a lot with a lot of coaches, primarily, not entirely, but that tends to be where the heart space is very much focused at the moment. So what about your own work? What do you do? Who do you work with? What kind of approach do you take?
Yeah, well, for a long time, I've been like for the last 15 plus years, I've been working as a business coach to help people take their juicy ideas and turn them into functioning businesses that can actually put food on the table. And more recently, through COVID, I took out the mindset piece out of my coaching business, which was always there. There was always a thread there, and have made that the full focus of the business now. And The reason that is, there are a lot of people out there who can tell you about sales, marketing, brand building, and so forth. But the mindset piece is still the piece that a lot of people struggle with. And I saw that every time someone came and they were leaving their career to start a business on their own. And it's making that identity shift from being an employee to being an entrepreneur to being a business owner and wearing the 21 different hats and believing that it could be done even though they've never done it before, believing that there was a path forward, and even though they couldn't see anything more than the next 10 feet in front of them. And so that belief was a big piece, and they kept coming back even after we launched the business to talk more with me, because as the business evolves and things get bigger and broader and deeper and they start to get scarier, and you have to now up level your self image again to become another elevated version of yourself who can hire their first employee and who can make another decision and who can take the business in a direction they didn't see coming. Because that was also another common piece, is that many businesses tend to evolve on their own. They have a life of their own, and you don't always know where it's going to take you, but it's always exciting.
Yeah, I think it can be a scary step, can't it? Particularly if you've been working for someone else and you've had that regular income coming in. But you must have come across people where it gets to the point where every day just feels like they're being squashed down because there's something growing inside of them and they are passionate about it, maybe something that's happened in their own life or just something they've seen where there's a space for them. And having that support alongside them to believe in themselves and to go with the vision that's kind of driving them forward, it changes everything. But it is a scary place to be, isn't it? It's not just sort of plain sailing or every step of the way. So do you work with people, you actually take them through that launch of their business and then they come back to you, or how does it work?
Well, that would have been the business I was doing for 15 years, would be to launch their business. And then often they would come back for more mindset work. And so now I don't really take people through a launch, though I'm happy to have one-off laser coaching if somebody was just entering business and really wanted to know what that landscape could be for them. What were the things that they needed to look for? I definitely still take those phone calls, but I have so many other contacts in the industry. I'm able to point them at the people who need to do the various things to actually launch the business. However, having a coach in mindset as you go through the launch of the business is really has a positive impact in how well you do to manage the scary feelings, how well you do to manage your self-doubt, how well you do to create and cultivate self-trust, because that's a big piece. We've never been this version of ourselves before. As a business owner, how do I trust myself to know I can really get it done? How do I trust myself to know that whatever happens next, I can handle? And so that mindset piece, people come to me if they are working through a business where they feel that they are struggling. They'll come to me to talk about their careers even. It's the same model for a career. I want to get that promotion, but I don't feel like I'm getting the recognition. How can I position myself with a different self-image that allows me to show up in a way that I can put myself forward into the spotlight and reach for what I want? Or is it time to move on and find where there's a spotlight for me somewhere else? And I feel confident and good enough about myself to reach for that. And relationships is the third piece of the business for me, because for everything, it's usually about relationships. When you don't feel supported, what are the relationships in your life right now that you feel aren't supporting you? Maybe you're asking too much of your spouse because they are a traditional employee thinking, and they can't help you when you enter entrepreneurship because it's not their dream, it's yours. So you have to find a community of other entrepreneurs where you can lean on. Oh, is that a thing? Yes, that's a thing, right? So, the mindset coaching piece as you move through, whether it's relationships or personal or professional, can be so helpful for you just to have a different perspective, to find opportunities where you can breathe a little and feel better about yourself, make really great decisions, and really enjoy life a lot more.
So what took you into this work in the first place? I mean, I know you talked about the business side of it, but what sort of really made you make that shift to helping people with the mindset part?
Well, when I started launching, helping people to launch their business, it was coming out of my maternity leave with my first son. And I took time off, and when I was meant to return to my job, the position being offered wasn't the same, and it would mean doing something I wasn't interested in doing, and leaving my child for that just didn't feel right. So I led with my heart. I took a package deal, that would set me up for a few months. And I decided, you know what, I've been doing this for a long time for a lot of people. Why can't I lead my own little ship and start helping other people to grow their business? Because my background is sales and marketing and management. It's everything I need to be able to help people to run a business. And so that's how I started my own business, and it was where I felt most comfortable. However, having to do that, having to shift out of being an employee to being a business owner was a major mindset shift for myself. And I've always had a really strong sense of myself and what I was capable of doing, even if I've never done it before. And so I made sure that was a piece of what I was offering to clients. And I saw them really respond to that. The comments I would get after our meetings would be things like, you know what, Lisa, I wish I had you in my pocket so that you could help me stay true to myself. I feel so good after we talk. I feel like I really know who I am and who I want to be and where I want to go. The clarity was there. The self-doubt started to fall away. They could feel empowered to go for what they really were meant to do. And meant to do didn't come from the head, it came from the heart. It was a feeling inside of them. And I helped them to tap into that feeling and get excited about it. And so that for me had to be a piece of the business going forward, the mindset piece.
I love that. I think, you've hit on a few things there, and that being true to yourself, following what's deep inside of you rather than other people's ideas. It's not that we can't learn from other people. Of course we can. There's lots of things out there where we can go and find information about things that perhaps we've never experienced before. We can go and find help and support with. But if they don't align with who you are, and if they're pulling you in a direction that is uncomfortable and just doesn't, and it's not about stepping out of your comfort zone, that's a different thing altogether. But when you're being asked to do something that you fundamentally don't feel is right, for me, that came in sales, where the people I was working with had used, to my mind, a very underhand sales method of getting people into the business. And it was almost like we were being encouraged to do that in our own businesses. And it just felt so wrong. I was seeing people kind of pulled and pulled over the goalposts. They were paying up, they were buying, but they weren't buying something that really suited them or that was really going to give them the launch into their new start, because it just didn't sit with who they are. Even the sales method of getting them there didn't sit. So they were left afterwards feeling uncomfortable. Like, yeah, just not dirty exactly, but do you know what I mean? There's awkwardness about them. And actually held them back. So one of the biggest things for me now, if anybody's going to work with me, if anybody's going to be one of my clients, I need to know that their values are the same as mine. We have different ways of doing things, but the values, the fundamental part. So do you do some work with people on that? Because I know sometimes people can feel a little bit almost like, can they stand on their values? Because in the business world, maybe that's not going to work. So do you find that you're working with people on that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, any business that I would help to launch always started with defining their values. And that can only start from their personal values. And then how are those values then pulled forward into the business? And so I wouldn't just ask them to list off their values, whether that was integrity or being conscious about the earth, but how would they define that within the business? So don't just give me a word, but tell me how it's going to live in the business. Tell me the benefit of it to whomever the business serves. So if you're selling a product or you're selling a service, your clients, your customers, how do they benefit for how you actually live this value. Give me the definition of the value. Where does it show up? How does it show up? And even now, when I work with people one on one, we always start at values. It's so interesting when I ask people, well, what are your values? And they kind of stumble on themselves. Most people will start with honesty as the value, right? But I don't think anybody's purposely running around lying unless you really have some other issue. But most of us, yes, we assume that we're all going to be honest. But tell me how you are living that. Because once you tell me that honesty, for example, is one of your values, and yet I then dig in a little bit more and I come to realize that you are living a lie somewhere in your life. Maybe it's not the job for you. Maybe it's not the relationship for you. Maybe you're putting up with someone's bad behavior and taking the hit every time. That honesty starts to affect you in a way you don't realize. You actually start to disintegrate the self-trust and integrity with yourself because you feel, you can feel it in your body and you can know it in your head that you aren't being honest with yourself and you aren't being honest with others. You are actually, there's a part of you that's living a lie, for lack of a better word. And therefore, that's always going to cause misalignment in your relationships, misalignment in other parts of your life. And so we always start with values.
I think that's really so important as that baseline, that foundation to grow on. I mean, it's a bit like I learned how to ski the once, and I was taught it wasn't proper skiing; it was a ski slope, and I wasn't even there because I wanted to go there. I was there because these friends persuaded me to. And the teacher got us up to the top there and was sort of taught us a few things like this is how you fasten your skis on, this is how you hold your post. We got one go at each thing. And then all of a sudden, before I know it, we're supposed to be skiing down this ski slope. And it was like, well, I don't even know how to do, I haven't even practiced how to do the other things. And of course, what did happen to me? I just went out through the side, literally, skis go flying away. And fortunately, I wasn't injured, but it taught me a big lesson. And that was if you haven't got the foundations right, then everything else is going to come tumbling down. It's just not going to survive. And the same is true in any relationship, of course. And it's absolutely true if you're setting yourself up in a business. If you haven't got those fundamental issues sorted right at the beginning, then you're going to come a cropper because things are going to happen in that business that you either don't intend to or that you can't control. So, in your work, you must come across times perhaps when people feel that they have either made a mistake or a bad decision, something that isn't going right. How do you work with someone like that where they've perhaps begun to lose their confidence in the thing that they started?
Yeah, I love mistakes. I love mistakes. I love fails. I love confrontation because it's always a doorway to learn something that you needed to know. If you made a mistake, learn from it. It's your mistake. Own the mistake and ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Versus allowing it to fester and, as you say, lose confidence. Instead, it's your mistake. Use it. It's a great tool for learning. Use it. If there's a failure, it's the same thing. How many times did they fail before they figured out how to cultivate electricity into a light bulb for us all to benefit, right? Lots of things have to fail. And even things like, is it penicillin? Was it happy accident? There are mistakes, there are accidents, confrontations. When someone confronts you about something, whether they're doing it calmly or whether they've let it fester in themselves and have come to you and they're all hot and bothered and angry about it, stay calm because you have to realize this person is having an emotional reaction to something that has happened, something that has gone on, and they feel you are a part of it. Listen clearly, take responsibility for the pieces that are attached to you, that are your responsibility, and then talk through the rest. At the end of it, you will come away with a better understanding of them and they will have a better understanding of you. So everything gets better when things get ruffled. It's always an opportunity for learning. And so part of what I do is I love taking people through challenges. And I say they come through the challenge to find the opportunity for greatness. Because often you miss things altogether. And until it blows up, until it explodes, until it's messy, until it's dismantled, You can't actually see the opportunity. So if somebody comes to you and they're confronting you, they're clearly upset. There's something that's not right for them. This is an opportunity to make it better for you and for them. Maybe you part ways or maybe you get closer. Either way, it's better for both. If you make a mistake, good, learn from it. Sometimes we worry too much about what people will think and we have to just apologize all the time. Instead of worrying about the apology, worry about how you're going to make it better. Like, look for that opportunity to make it better. And then the next time that you show up in a situation that's similar, you're going to do better. And people are going to see you in that new light and go, wow, look, that's really improved. That's fantastic. And so I think challenges in life are really important. And they used to scare me to death. And now, having been through so many, I always look back. This is something, a practice that I encourage my clients to do as well. I always look back and see how I came through it, what I learned, who I am now, and what I'm taking forward versus what I'm leaving behind.
You think when you've got examples in your own life that you can share, it's always more powerful, isn't it? Rather than sharing some other story that somebody else experienced. I think it's what makes clients connect with you when they're working with you. And I do think that's very much where the heart-led entrepreneur, the heart-led business coach, business owner, or so on, there's always going to be that strength in their business because it's like their clients. It's almost like the success of their clients is more important to them even than it is to the client. They're just determined to sort of do what it takes to get them across the finishing line. But how can somebody contact you, Lisa, if they would like to work with you, have a conversation with you? How can they get in touch?
Well, I'm on not all the social medias. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I love LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn under my name, of course, Lisa McGrath. My company name is called Cavea Studios. That's Cavea studio.com. And so that's the website you can go to. It also has its own pages on social media on the same platforms. I'm always happy to have a call with somebody. There's a Calendly link on my website page that you can certainly click on, and you can get book into a conversation with me about how we can work together. Happy to have that conversation, happy to see if I'm a fit for whatever it is that you're going through. And if not, I know so many other people, coaches or consultants in different industries who I'd be happy to put you in touch with.
Fantastic. Well, is there one thing, just one piece of wisdom that something that maybe, I don't know, that you maybe it's changed your life or maybe that you give to your sort of new clients that you would just love to share with the audience today?
Yeah, on the note of challenges and coming through them, I always tell my clients that if they look back on their life, they have come through their own series of challenges. They have always come through them, which means they have a full and complete record of success. Whatever it is, you have come through it and you're standing with me today and we're looking at each other and you're just about to enter a new challenge or a new phase or a scary transition. And you have all this evidence to show that you will come through it. And the fact that you're asking for help means that you're ready to take it on.
Brilliant. Well, if you've enjoyed listening, and thank you, Lisa, for that. If you've enjoyed listening to us today and you'd love to get in touch with Lisa, then do so. We'll be sharing all her links with this podcast. And also, if you've got an opinion or an idea that you'd like to share, if you've had an experience where maybe you've moved from leading with the head and you're now leading with the heart, or you're seeing the difference and the empowerment that's given you, then we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to find your story and we'd love to share your message too. So thanks very much for listening, and thanks, Lisa, for coming along today.
I'm so grateful we were here.